Hello everyone. Today is day 13 of 21 days to building hope. And I'm going to read out of 365 Days to Embracing Forbidden Emotions, a daily guide to peace and fulfillment. And this is January 13th. And we're going to tap on remaining curious. The important thing is to not stop questioning. Now more than ever, curiosity has its own reason for existing. Albert Einstein. I love that. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Albert Einstein. Curiosity killed the cat. This saying alone can program me to quake in my shoes at being curious. Hey, Barbara. You're my standby. I love it. Rock. I might minimize a saying like this, knowing that I've remained curious. Or I might have fear around being curious. Just because I've heard this saying enough to make an impact. Then maybe I've heard it said this way. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Simple enough, but it's highly possible that simple yet repetitive sayings like this can affect me. Anything I hear can program beliefs within me. Whether this example applies or not, I've got a few, if not many, programs that that run my show without my conscious knowledge. Tapping is a highly effective tool to help me free myself from both conscious and unconscious programming that can limit me. As I release these programs, my curiosity natural comes to the forefront in my mind in a far freer and easier way. Once again, I create the space for possibility to come with grace and ease. Thought for the day. What if today I can realize there are a lot of things I've heard in my life that aren't true? Yeah, what if we can? In my own journey from waking up from my epic programming, growing up in the religion that I grew up in, that's what I talked about yesterday, that spiritual experience changed how I saw everything. And I would say, I think this is very timely, now more than ever with everything that's going on in the world, is to remain curious, to remain open to hearing two sides of a story. I was driving around. I had to go at an appointment in northern New Mexico yesterday, and I was there for a while, and then I downloaded a podcast, and I posted it on my personal Facebook page from the 10% Happier, and it's a guy named Robert Wright, and he very much talks about very much remaining open, and he's very big on befriending people who have an opposing view from you. And, not the ones that are so militant, there's no room for conversation with it. But like my closest, I would call her my closest friend here in New Mexico. Her and I are very different, I would call it political views, but we remain friends. And what I love about her is we can always remain open to discussing opposite views, and it never gets nasty. It doesn't get ugly. It's just, and then there's things we agree on. And I mean, we'll laugh about it. Like I'll tell her, Sophie, you won't believe this, but I'm listening to this. And she'll start laughing like, oh my God, I never thought in a million years, and vice versa. And I think with everything in life, and I have to catch this in myself, but it's really important that I like to listen to people who are very open-minded, who I like data. I like real data, and I geek out on that stuff. Like I really geek out on it, and I'll listen to what I think are two sides to an argument. And there's a great movie, The Best of Enemies. The Best of Enemies, I think's the name of it. It's a true story about a guy who is a member of the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, he was one of the leaders, and how they had these. I can't remember. There was a word for it. Something ket, whatever, and they came and they had people on opposing sides come, and they would have to sit and talk, and it was amazing to see the transformation. And I would just say, now more than ever, the power of notifications, right? I love it, Barbara. Now more than ever, for all of us to keep our minds as open as we can about things and question our thoughts, which is, I always joke with my husband, I'm like, dude, if there's a dictionary for question everything, your picture is next to it. Because he very much, he can go to the extreme, like some of us can, but he's not going to believe anything until he feels like it fits with him. And I'm definitely more of a research junkie. I do a lot of data research, and I want to back up strongly my views on things. So all that said, I think this idea of remaining curious, and again, when you're looking at a billboard, this is kind of a little simple practice. What are they trying to sell me with that billboard, and how are they trying to sell it with me? When I'm looking at ads, commercials, anything, what are they trying to sell me on, and how are they trying to sell it to me? What's the tactic they're using to do it? And I said this on a video a while ago, and then we'll tap, I promise. I saw a 2-page ad years ago. I think it was in Life magazine, and it was for life insurance. And there's a father and his 2 kids standing outside a home that's burning down, and there's a silhouette of a woman in the window of the burning house. And I remember I was probably in my 20s, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I personally felt that really crossed a line in how you're going to sell through fear. But notice, like, what fear is being produced in you to cause actions. And do you want to question, to me, you want to question that fear. You do want to question everything. You want to, is this right? And then once you've questioned it and you get satisfied with it, that's huge, because it can change your life in so many ways. It can change, how you see other people. It can change how you see the world. It can open up a whole new world for you by remaining curious and literally questioning things. And this is what I loved about the podcast. And I love this guy because I do the same thing. He watches the opposing views. Like he'll watch mainstream media, but he watches the opposing views of what he has on purpose to see, well, what are they saying? And what do I agree with about that? And then what doesn't make sense to me? And I love that. I do that too, because I'm like, what's being sold here? How are they spinning this? How's this being spun? And what's going on here? And how do I do that? I do that with everything. In the coaching world, it's huge. With the law of attraction and all of that stuff, it's like, wait, how's that being spun? Like, you attract every single thing that comes into your life? Really? Don't we have paragda karma? Don't we have life lessons that we're meant to learn? So that sounds so punitive to me. And anything now that I find very judgy, I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at kind of all kinds of views about it. So let's tap. Karate chop. Even though remaining curious isn't really promoted in our culture, people want you to see what they want you to see. In anything. I choose to acknowledge my truth right now. Even though, do I remain curious? Do I remain open? Could I really hear an opposing view and sit with it and understand it? I choose to honor my curiosity now. Could I? Even though, am I remaining curious about life and everything? Am I pretty fixed in my opinions? And if I am fixed, how am I backing that up? And go to the eyebrow. Do I remain curious about life? About everything I see, hear, read? Do I look at advertising in a curious way? What are they trying to sell me here? And how are they trying to sell it to me? Do I ever really listen to opposing views with curiosity? Or am I so set in my own ways, fixed in my position, that I can't even be open to another way? And it would make sense if I'm this way, because my cultural programming promotes it. There was never space given to hear another side of a story, to really listen, even if someone's really extreme. What if that could change so much for me in my life? If I remained curious and open. It would definitely take practice, and probably consistent practice. But what if that's good for me in so many ways? Questioning all my cultural beliefs, the beliefs that programmed me as a child. What could change for me if I remain curious? What if my mind could be blown open in the best possible way? Maybe I'm curious about that. But what if I could be open to being curious, moving forward as a practice? What could change? So take a breath. A story popped in my head as I was tapping on that. I remember, I was raised in this super devout Catholic family, and a really good friend of mine I met in college, and we were roommates and stuff. She was raised Lutheran, and I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, which is an extremely Catholic city, like very, very Catholic. It's almost like, and my girlfriend who was raised Lutheran, she goes, and my given name's Martha. She goes, Martha, you have no idea what it's like to not be Catholic in this town. And I go, yeah, I wouldn't know that. And it was great to start to, because I was just raised around Catholics. I wasn't raised around anybody with any other religion or anything. I was raised, we had parishes. You might know somebody on your street was different, but a different religion, but it never came up. And I see the programming that I had and how I was programmed. I wasn't allowed to I was actually blown away when my elementary school, which was a Catholic school, took us to a Jewish synagogue. And we was like, whoa. It kind of opened my mind a little. Wow, there's like a whole another way. Even though I knew there were other religions, I had no idea, I heard shitty stuff said, I would call it prejudicial stuff said. And I saw that with my father and my mom, so fixed in their positions. Like my mother questioned things when she was younger. She was actually quite brilliant. But she got, slapped down so many times for questioning it, she stopped questioning it. And that happened to me in Catholic school. But then I think that's probably why I ended up having a spiritual experience, because it just blew open my mind. I was already starting to open to questioning things. I literally thought I would go to hell if I said shit. And can you imagine? Because I have a potty mouth. I was raised by a Marine, and I'm like, oh my God. And when I finally woke up and was like, well, if I end up in hell, at least all my friends are going to be there with me. So I just started to expand, and I'll never forget, I was reading, it was a People magazine. It was when the movie Ghost came out, and they were talking about how they, in Ghost, how they said they have a typical Judeo-Christian stance on life and death in that movie. And that little reading, I was like, whoa, it just opened something in my mind. It's a Judeo-Christian stance. Oh, there's other opinions. There's other stances to take. And I would say now, especially in our current culture, now more than ever, it is so good to just be open, to be curious. You don't have to agree with anyone. And that's what I love about the podcast. This guy says, you can think that someone's behavior deserves to put them in jail, but you can also learn over time, like, what would create them doing that, and to find compassion for them. And like I said, the same guy, Robert writes his name, he watches opposing views on purpose to see what are they being fed, what are they being told, and oh wow, kind of what they're saying there makes sense. And it keeps his mind open. And I would say he's more moderate because he's kind of kept this open mind about not being extreme on one side or the other. So Suzanne, great to see you here. Barbara, always, I love it, the power of notifications. And hope you found this helpful. I'll post it on YouTube. Yesterday I posted it right away, but I got home and it was still not posting, so I'm going to wait till it posts. So these will be on YouTube as well as on here. And see you tomorrow for, wow, day 14. We're 2/3 of the way through tomorrow. Bye.